Good evening, people out there. It's your good friend Jamie again. Now, today is something a little bit interesting, and it's gonna be something really big, and it's a little bit exciting, but a bit personal. I have written a speech about what autism means to me, and I want to discuss the feelings and my thoughts and a few questions at the end. So sit back and hear me telling you as much as possible and enjoy. If you get bored listening to this, I don't blame you, because what I've written here would just show that I'm not strange or weird or anyway. Please don't comment on that. Just give me some positive feedback at the end. So, hope you enjoy. And give some kind feedback. Also, I've been copying I've been writing this down on just Notepad, so I also copied it onto my computer. Well then, let's begin. A speech about what autism means to me by Jamie Bullock. I'm sure for those who don't know about me being on the autistic spectrum, well, you are about to find out as I share out a positive speech where I will express the experiences about it, and emotions and opinions too. A person with a disability is not a negative thing to think about or be around/near. One of them might forget a few things like manners or properly introduce themselves or even someone's name if they call out someone by the specific person. Being autistic isn't just something that should be shown as a threat or an excuse. No way. And you also have to be sympathetic with what they're talking about, like feelings or stuff they've done or enjoyed doing, or even something as of lately. Some of them are kind, patient, and show sympathy, but others don't see it in a way the previous latter does. A verbal person who's autistic just doesn't want to be left out and alone. They want something they can anticipate in and share with others. Being left out or unwanted is a miserable experience, and they don't want that. Anyone with a disability has their ways, but it's not an excuse at all for whatever reason. If one of them were to ask a question in a friendly way, they need to understand that they aren't trying to be rude or annoying. Personally, I wouldn't say it's a negative thing whatsoever to anyone living with autism. If their communication is verbal, they'd feel okay sometimes. And being non-verbal is different to the ones who can speak English. Their behaviours are different in a way with how they act. Another thing is one of them, or even many out there, wanted something new in their lives to do. Also, some of them have jobs and even have their own homes and include good talent, whereas some others can't make up their minds. I can express some of these feelings by writing them down on paper or type them up on a computer, as proved to be more easier for others to understand. Asperger's syndrome is something similar to autism, which is no excuse. If they wish to be in a relationship, well, that's a story for another day or time. But it might be in the message. Who knows? Now, for me, how would I describe autism? Well, to me, I would say it's definitely not a thing I would hide away from anyone. Well, it's something I want to explain to others, but about what it means in my opinion. And in case those who don't know this yet at all, I am on the spectrum and also have Asperger's syndrome. Now, if something was to go wrong too soon, even if there were some things I didn't like, such as too much drama, or even too much being explained at once, or anything being repeated that I heard I might remember, or too many questions asked at once or too quickly, or even if I feel stressed or tired or couldn't take it anymore, the pressure inside might be an overload and suddenly cause an explosion inside me or cause harm to surroundings which I regret later doing. Sometimes I think of the main character Christopher from The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. If I were to do something by accident, it isn't my fault. At the end of the day, it's just a mistake I made, and we should forgive and learn from our mistakes and errors. Even though we can't get on with everybody or be their friend, it's just the way it is. And another little reminder would be considerate or careful who we choose as our friends. We don't want to go out of line, jump to conclusions, or do something we'd regret later on. Some people with autism may be afraid of loud bangs, noises, senses, and crowded places, etc. Whereas I haven't much fear about that, though. When approaching different people, some of them may be busy or not interested. However, there are some who are willing, accepting, opening up, and thankful too, although I'd like those who can take my interests in by heart. It's not a competition for anyone to persuade that person to be their friend. Another thing, however, I struggle with a lot of people is I may find eye contact a little creepy when I'm looking in the eyes of a human's face most of the time, thinking about it like I'd have nightmares, but thankfully not though. Now, I'd like to express and share my own expresses and thoughts about it. It was in early 2005 when I discovered I had it, reading a sentence of it on a badge. Occasionally, I had those times where I would behave in a way which would lead me in some situations that got me into trouble or ups and downs. In the end, it took me time to realise what I did back then, and seeing as I'm what I'm like now, I can still be a little bit egotistical and occasionally land myself into small scrapes. Back then, all those years ago, I could be a bit stubborn and refuse a few chores or lessons or get fed up of doing the same thing all the time. Many years back, I feared the loud noise of those who were even verbal or non-verbal. At my old school, approximately late 2012, and occasionally hold grudges against the male staff. Also, I didn't enjoy my old school a lot towards the end, mainly because of students taking advantage of me or some of the staff being too strict or a bit harsh. I know some people can be a bit strict, but that's how they are. I mean, some of them have their own opinions, but some of them might change their moods, or some may decide how they feel. But just try not to be too annoying towards them. Just let them do their thing. All I'm saying. Still to this day, I can still behave strangely in different ways on terms of occasional places. Sometimes I would talk to myself a lot when I'm on my own or when I'm on my devices, or even when I'm watching something on my TV screen or DVD player, even when I'm playing a video game on my PlayStation or my computer. But when I'm on camera doing some pretend acting or with people, it could prove to be challenging. On social media, I could sometimes post videos on some of the users' posts. Some of them give a positive feedback and some would praise me in a response in return. Even on YouTube, I would comment on anything railway/train related video when the user positively replies with some information like a hands, thanks, or shown what was provided, how the latter was done. Although some of it might do it very well professionally, although some may not express it properly with their knowledge in their minds. Although I understand that you just have to be patient and just let them do their thing. Anyways, Now, sometimes with learning new things or lessons, even in education, I do tend to rush a lot and make mistakes. I try to take my time revising, but I do have a member of staff and a teacher to help me with solutions to try and get the answer right. I am really not wanting to make way too many mishaps and failing miserably in the process, and then I would have to spend some time rethinking the directions to take the path with support required to get them right. Another thing I wanted to show is I've been in a few relationships back in my previous college, and most of them went okay. However, there were some ups and downs here and there, and now, at this moment, when I try to think of it, I find it hard to understand how to get into one or even learn how to maintain one. I feel nervous about, or a little scared, asking about any females out. I think that may be a bit too strange or personal. Some of them may just want to remain friends, whereas others probably not interested or busy with others. There are some dating sites that might be useful, but I don't know how well, if any of that would exceed. I would say that was a bit personal, so please respect what I said, or just ignore it. The most important thing is to be careful what the person says to the other, mainly girls. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger or not. However, some of them have caused drama and then ended them in a harsh way, like some of those drama shows and soaps like Made in Chelsea or Emmerdale. For example, the rich people or even couples would start arguing, spread rumours, secrets, such and such. What I'm trying to emphasize is that the relationships take time to build up and just wait patiently for the right one who's their type. Sometimes I look online for something to do, or there's a specific item to purchase. I would need support for one event to see or help parents help to buy that thing. Occasionally I go into shops or stores and around the areas to see the interesting sites, or even like for furniture or house interiors, which gives me an idea for when I get a place like a flat or a house. There's loads of skills in life I want to accomplish, and I think anyone does too. Freedom is great to include as long as it's safe in a way or place that we're going to. Although some places we'd have to be careful whether that location is safe or not, and also be wise on who they meet. Nobody should plan revenge or trick them into something bad that's going to happen to them. Sometimes I can be a bit neglective about the safety of about who and where of the areas and pedestrians. And I need to be reminded that not everyone is safe to be around. However, there are clubs, college, work, etc., for they have some of those we can trust. One day I plan to write a really well-written speech about what autism means to me, maybe even copy some of the dialogue from this long speech and go back to my old school in Dorset and read it out loud in front of loads of staff. Some years ago, another student who was there, who I'm not going to mention the name of, was there when I started a few years before he left, also did something similar to that. In other words, it doesn't matter who you are, whether anyone has a disability or not. Don't be too afraid to express your feelings, spoken or written, even if they have a different disability like Down syndrome, but that's another story. I'm a bit of a slow learner, but it takes time to understand these things, and we all have to overcome our fears and express the emotions too, and in the end, the solutions are solved, sorted, and brought back down to earth. Just please don't hide from your fears forever. Even if someone wanted to communicate with another, they might be busy with someone else, or even problems with something else, even if it's something of their own personal life. But there are no excuses whatsoever. In a way, some may be able to understand our feelings and find ways to sort out those problems. It's also nice to know that there are staff to listen to our words if there had been some drama or issues. Some parents are, but there can be a bit of a quarrel sometimes. But anyways, so in conclusion, I may still behave in a strange way or another, but that's who I am today. I may still think my way is better sometimes. However, I try my hardest to realise I am equal to each and every one else. So, some of them can use social media, but we'll need advising to be safe online. Which I learned the hard way, of course. That never let a stranger into your house, etc. Remember that not everyone is going to be our friend, but that's the way life is, and we have to deal with it. But it's alright when someone on your side shows how much they care about you, and some have others' interests by heart. So, to wrap up this speech, or very long poem I've written, I want to share a few questions with you. 1. Have you ever learnt anything or experienced something to do with autism? Number 2. Do you know anyone on the autistic spectrum? Or have you met anyone on the spectrum? And number 3, if you have, what are your thoughts or opinions about it? I leave that for you, your response when the time comes, or now if better. One final thing I'd like to say is, thank you for your patience, for listening to me reading out this beautiful, lovely speech. Or reading this, if you have seen it on screen or on paper, but I don't think I'll do it just yet, with patience included as well. From me, Jamie Bullock. So, I hope you all enjoyed that speech. I hope you weren't so bored. Oh, I hope you weren't too bored listening to me chatting up all the positive things that you can experience. If you want to write a speech for what something means to you, or you feel that you can experience it for yourself, go right ahead. Just try not to copy too much. Just don't rip off some people's work. I mean, some of the quotes you can use for a bit of providing, it's okay, but just remember, mostly do it in your own words. Sometimes there are things we've experienced before and we've enjoyed them, and some we didn't enjoy. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening to me. This is Jamie Bullock signing off. Take care, guys. Vegetable rights and peace.